Hello everyone. How's it going? I'm really excited to be talking about this product today. So, if you can't tell already, I am a huge Simpsons fan. I have my vintage Bart Simpson t-shirt from 1989. And, when Arcade1up announced this product, I knew I had to buy it, right behind me. It's so beautiful. I absolutely love it. I think it's probably one of the most exciting pieces that Arcade1up has ever released, and it's something that I think a lot of people have been looking forward to for a really long time. It's a bucket list cab for a lot of people, including myself. So when it came out, I had to buy it. I ended up getting my pre-order through Walmart, which offered the $5.29 price at the time. And as most of you know, the Walmart orders ended up being pushed back. And for whatever reason, some of them started appearing in stores, which is a little bit of a bummer for people like us who were pre-ordering, who were really looking forward to getting this product in. And so when my pre-order got pushed back, I knew that Arcade1up was in possession of a couple of pieces, mostly because people in the community, especially people on Reddit, were actually doing more extensive research to see when these products were shipping in. And I knew at the time that Arcade1up had in possession a good amount of these particular units. So when my pre-order got pushed back with Walmart, I decided to cancel with Walmart and actually buy direct with Arcade1up. And so the caveat being that now I had to pay an extra almost $200 more to get the stool and the matching tin sign, and basically to be able to get it a little bit earlier than most people. And at the end of the day, I'm actually really glad that I did it. It is unfortunate that the Walmart pre-orders weren't able to go through to the customers who have long been awaiting and had already paid. So it was a little bit disappointing to see that Walmart didn't really come through for us. But at the end of the day, spending the extra $200 to have it in my home and to be one of the early people to play it, it's so awesome, and I can't thank them enough. Yeah, so to jump into the review of the actual Arcade1up Simpsons machine, it's easily my favorite machine that I own now. So I own quite a few. I have the Star Wars Pinball, NBA Jam, Marvel vs. Capcom, and I've had a couple others over the years. And I think out of all of them, this one just means the most to me because I grew up in the 90s, and one of the first things that I got hooked on as a kid was probably The Simpsons. I remember going to pizza places, Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, any little family pizza place or arcade or whatever. There was always a Simpsons machine, and it was always something that I played through. To give a quick overview, the Arcade1up Simpsons machine comes with two games. It comes with the original Beat 'em Up and Simpsons Bowling. And I know that a lot of people were actually really concerned with how the bowling was going to be emulated, including myself. I was curious, at the least. There was a lot of noise in the beginning of whether or not Arcade1up could actually pull it off, and I knew there was a lot of delays with the game being announced and then not quite announced, and there was kind of like this weird push and pull of is it coming out? Is it official? Is it unofficial? Now, looking back, we all know that was sort of licensing issues, not particularly with Arcade1up, but with the IP in general. I think overall, they absolutely killed it. They did such a good job with this machine. There's a couple really minor improvements that could be made to make it a little bit better, but overall, I think they did an excellent job. Alright, so here is the box that it comes in. As you can see, using the iconic Simpsons blue color, it stands out. It looks super awesome. They did a really good job packing and protecting the product. And here it is next to my other arcade machines. And here's a quick glance at the stool that it comes with. Pretty much on brand, using the same side art. And for the first time, looking at the Arcade1up molded coin door panels, and honestly, they're amazing. One of the best things they've ever done for the design. And here's a quick glance at the control deck. As you can see, It looks amazing. It's pretty much on brand. I think one of the cool things is that they added the Simpsons font to the on-off switch. And here now is looking at the fancy Simpsons tin that we all paid a little extra for. And here it is compared to one of my vintage 1989 Simpsons prints. This one comes from, I believe, Western Graphics Corps. That was one of the first companies to really have the license and start publishing Simpsons merchandise. And the only inconsistency I noticed in between the vintage poster and the Arcade1up production is the blue in Marge's hair. And it's not necessarily anything on Arcade1up, but it is true to the arcade machine. And you can see a pretty clear difference between the shades of blue between the hair in the vintage poster and the arcade poster. So to do some fun facts, one of the really interesting things about the cabinet is if you are a diehard Simpson fan, you would actually know that the side art and Bart Simpson in the game is wearing a teal t-shirt, whereas in the television show, he's actually wearing an orange t-shirt. And it's really interesting to see this is actually really cool on Arcade1up's part to stay true and faithful to the original art and concept, because basically what happened is 20th Century Fox, they were pushing out the merchandise before and amidst the show was being produced. And so before they even had a finalized version of what Bart's color palette was going to be, they kind of just launched the blue version, which is really, really interesting because if you look back, a lot of Simpsons products actually have Bart with the light blue t-shirt. And it's actually really cool to see on the machine that it retained that aspect of the Simpsons history. And so to add even more confusion to the blue shirt, orange shirt Bart Simpson, I actually have with me a vintage Bart Simpson doll from 1990. And this particular doll actually comes from the Burger King collaboration the Simpsons did with them. Basically, they were just selling the whole family as a doll set. I believe they were $14.99. I could be wrong. Don't fact check me on that one. But this particular model is from 1990. And so you can see here he's actually pictured wearing an orange t-shirt. And it's really interesting because the Simpsons game actually came out in 1991. And so for whatever reason, there's just that inconsistency between like the orange and blue shirt. Whereas, I have this product from 1990 where it's just, it's the orange shirt Bart. And then you have the arcade game that came out in 1991 that has a blue shirt Bart. So it's kind of funny that there were these little inconsistencies with the Simpsons game, or the Simpsons IP in general, not just the game. One of the other main things that people were concerned about was Homer's button placement, and here's a quick look at me playing the game, and you can actually see that it's not horrible. Although it isn't ideal, it's definitely not a deal breaker. Although I do think if they had just shifted the buttons, the left one being on the bottom, right one being on the top, it would have been a little bit more ergonomic. And so now we're going to be jumping into some of the settings. You can see pretty basic stuff like life, difficulty, demo sound, scan lines. From there, we're going to take a quick look at the Simpsons Bowling. Nothing much there, just difficulty and timing meter, and the standard Arcade1up cabinet settings, just network configuration, factory updates, things like that. And here's going to be a quick look at Simpsons Bowling, kind of how it operates. So one of the fun things I really wanted to show off was the hidden character, Grandpa, who's actually selectable on the main screen by rolling the trackball up and down really fast. And he's arguably the best character in the game, so I highly recommend giving him a shot. This is another really cool thing about the game is if you don't touch it for a while, the characters react. And so I really wanted to show off this part here is how once you get a turkey, you are actually gifted like this special ball to use. And one of the selectables is Maggie, and you can actually see some of the really cool like nods to the Simpsons as a whole. This is more so in terms of like the Simpsons bowling development. Like right here, right when we're about to start over, if you look to the left, crawling out of like the ball hole is Maggie. And it's so cute and honestly such a good touch and makes the game as great as it is. Cool, and here's a quick look at one of the things that I think they could improve on here in terms of the development for Arcade1up is you can't actually save your high scores. So you can actually see here I have number 1 high score, but once you turn off the game, it's pretty much gone for good. And so now I'm going to jump into a game with the Simpsons arcade game, and truthfully, there isn't much to say about this. It's pretty straightforward. They did an excellent job. It's true to the arcade, and it plays exactly like you think it would. At this point, it's just about having fun. So another thing I actually want to address is how I believe probably a little bit after development, they actually changed the size of the trackball on this machine. If you actually watch the CNET video, which I'll probably link right here, maybe I'll post a screenshot or something right here. So if you notice in the CNET video, the trackball is actually significantly larger than the one that we have for launch version. And you can actually see on the CNET version, there are 2 extra screws that are added around the trackball, and that's actually one clear indicator that they are using a different trackball for this experience. For the final launch version, we actually do have a little bit smaller one, and although I was hoping that we would get the larger one, I feel like the one that we got is actually not so bad. It's really great. I think it does an excellent job of doing what it does. They really hit it out of the park with this machine. Obviously, the arcade beat 'em up, The Simpsons, is an excellent game. It's not hard to emulate, and they did an excellent job. I think adding the online capabilities actually adds a lot of replay value to this game because it basically invites you into the Arcade1up community. And as you know, maybe watching this, there's the Discords and the Facebook groups, and I think. Yeah, I think going the extra mile to add online play for something like that really does take the experience to the next level, especially in light of the pandemic. I think it's a really great tool to utilize is online play, and I'm really excited to see that they're pushing it forward with pretty much all of their cabinets moving on. In terms of the Simpsons bowling gameplay experience, it's incredible. It's spot on. I think some of the minor things there are that you can't actually save your high scores, which I do see to the point that eventually you would just hit a full list of 300 games, perfect 300 scores, and just line up the whole list. And I believe that's kind of why they abandoned the save concept. But I actually do think it is a great idea to save those high scores just because even though The Simpsons Bowling isn't necessarily a super hard game, I think going that extra mile to include save states is something that people really appreciate. At least for me, my girlfriend and I always compete for the high scores, so I think being able to actually save our high scores will take the gameplay experience to the next level. One thing I do want to address actually is the sound issues that some of the more recent cabinets have apparently been having. I don't own Big Blue or Turtles in Time or the X-Men, but with the Simpsons cabinet, I did notice one minor sound issue. I believe once you get 3 strikes in Simpsons Bowling, you get to use a special ball. And I believe with one of the special balls, maybe it's the nuclear bomb one, but when you throw it and the bomb goes off, you can actually hear the audio levels actually clip, and you kind of get this this like sort of like washed sound in the audio in your speakers. You can actually hear it. Although it's super minor, it's not something like that's gonna ruin the gameplay experience. It's just something very, very minor that you would notice if you're an audiophile. Another fun fact that I really want to share about the Simpsons arcade game is you can actually see in a couple animations of the particular game, if you're playing with Marge, you can actually see that she has bunny ears kind of under her hair. And this sort of ties into the Tracy Ullman show, or not Tracy Ullman. This actually ties into the original character of the Life and Death comics that Matt Groening had produced, the main bunny character. And I believe the original concept for Marge was that it was supposed to be unveiled at some point in the show that she had these like bunny ears under her hair, and it ended up being scrapped. But it is really cool to see that is actually still intact in the Simpsons arcade game, and it's just a fun little Easter egg. So if you're playing with Marge through the game, do pay attention to that and take a look out, and I'm sure you'll see it, and now you can kind of laugh about this cool little fun fact. At the end of the day, I 100% recommend this machine, and I really hope that any Simpsons fan or Arcade1up fan can really appreciate the amount of love that went into this product. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. And yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate everyone who took the time to watch this, and thank you. Enjoy. Take care.